this morning? Or are you too busy back there? So how are you this morning? Are you good? Do you like the fact that the sun is shining? I like the fact the sun is shining. I always feel better when the sun shines. So, I wonder what kind of a story is in here today. I think it's a new story. New slash old, because then I get both right. Well, let's have a look. Oh my. This is an old story. Not only is, yeah, you were right. Not only is this an old story, but this isn't even a new old story because I've told you this story before. But it's such a good story that I think it's worth hearing and seeing again. So, this story, there's always sand, isn't there? Yeah. This is a story that happens in the land that we call the Holy Land, the desert, the Holy Land. And this story probably didn't actually happen the way it's told, but it doesn't mean that it's not an important story. So we just have to kind of keep that in mind. And this story is about Jesus. And Jesus, at this point, has been going village to village and town to town, telling people about God and how God loves them and how they can have a better life. And he's been doing that for probably about 2 years at this point. But as this story happens, he leaves the towns that he's been in, and he takes with him 3 of his followers, Peter and James
and John, probably.
You're absolutely right. And John, probably. And there's John. And he took them.
Peter, James, and John.
He took them to a mountain.
A humongous one,
Yeah.
too.
And so they followed Jesus up the mountain. And Jesus said, I want you to come with me, because Jesus used to go to this mountain quite often to pray. It would give him a chance to get away by himself, and he would pray to God. And this time he took them with him. And they spent the whole night there. The whole night praying. And in the morning, as the sun came up, just like it did here, all of a sudden, Jesus looked different. His face was glowing, and his clothes became dazzling, sparkling white. And James and John and Peter were looking at this and just amazed. They couldn't believe what was happening. And then, as if that wasn't strange enough, all of a sudden, beside Jesus, Moses appeared. Moses, who had lived hundreds of years earlier and was no longer alive. All of a sudden, Moses was there. Moses was the person that came down with the 10 Commandments from Mount Sinai.
We were studying that just earlier this year.
Is that right? And if that wasn't amazing enough, then all of a sudden, Elijah appeared. Elijah, who also had lived hundreds of years before, suddenly appeared. And Elijah was one of the great prophets. And a prophet is someone who has a sense of what's going to happen in the future. Yeah, they're twins, aren't they? Well, Peter and James and John are looking at this. They had never seen anything like this before, and they were terrified. They were scared. But it still wasn't over. Because then, all of a sudden, this great big cloud, a great big cloud came down and covered Jesus and Moses and Elijah. And there was a voice, there was this booming voice that came out of the cloud that said, "This is my son, my beloved. Listen to him." And the disciples all fell down. And they were trembling in fear. They were shaking. And then, just as quickly, the cloud disappeared, and Jesus was left standing there all by himself.
No, disciples, you're all gone, you're all gone.
And Jesus gathered the disciples from hiding under the mountain. And he said to them, he touched each one of them, and he said, "Don't be afraid. Everything is okay." And they went down the mountain. And as they were going down the mountain, he said to them, "Don't tell anyone what you saw today. Don't tell anyone."
It's too important. Everybody will kill you.
I wonder what happened that Jesus suddenly looked different. I wonder what the disciples saw. What do you think happened?
I think they saw that his clothes just like suddenly burst into like holy child.
Would you like to have an outfit like that?
Yeah, that could be a superstar.
I wonder why they were afraid.
Ooh.
I wonder why they were afraid.
Because there was such a great big light, and they were just like, those guys haven't been alive for a billion years.
Yeah, suddenly something is so different. And the really weird thing is, I wonder why Jesus told them not to tell anyone. What do you think? Why would he say that?
Because it's too important.
Because it's too important.
Maybe because if they found out, they would get killed, and they think Jesus would be here. Oh,
Yeah, it might be
Jesus might get killed too.
It might be dangerous to tell people. Well, that's our story today. And this is a story that's called Transfiguration. Have you ever heard that word before? Transfiguration. Can you say that? That's a big word. But you don't have to remember that because you've got lots of years to learn that word. And so we're going to sing. An old hymn now. What number is it, Don? 602 in Voices United in number 602. And then after we sing, you can follow the candle out to Children's Church, and I think there's something planned for you there.
I know.